Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome. This is the first of our NASSCOM Retail Tech Day, and it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all here. I also want to thank all our panelists, our speakers, for agreeing to be part of this session, and look forward to a wonderful set of sessions. And the sessions are spread over 2 days, and we welcome all of you to join the sessions over the 2 days. So again, welcome to the NASSCOM Retail Tech Day 2020. Transformation through innovation is the theme, and we would be doing a deep dive into hyper-digitalization, contactless operating models, and other emerging technologies in the retail industry. The retail industry in India is considered one of the top 5 retail markets in the world by economic value. At this time, when the entire nation and world are looking forward to a revival, the resurgence of the retail industry will be a key driver for social and economic recovery. And all this would be possible only with technology in the forefront. We are pleased to have all of you on board and hope you have some good takeaways from the sessions that we have lined up for you. With that, I'd like to invite our Senior Vice President and Chief Strategy Officer at NASSCOM, Sangeeta Gupta. As a leader, Sangeeta has been associated with the organization for close to 30 years. Sangeeta leads several key initiatives at NASSCOM that focus on industry research, outreach, events, communications, as well as strategic priorities. There's also a very, very important hat that she wears in the current scenario, and she leads all the efforts on the National AI Portal that is being jointly developed by the Ministry of Electronics and IT and National E-Governance Division. So it's a great pleasure to have Sangeeta, and I welcome Sangeeta once again. Over to you, Sangeeta.
Thank you, Kritika, and a very warm welcome to all our participants, speakers this afternoon, evening, as well as everybody who's logged in from different parts of the country today for this very interesting session on retail technology. I'm just delighted to be speaking here today because there's just so much change that's happening in this sector. And I think this is one sector that is totally transforming with this crisis. And clearly, as we look ahead, there will be a slightly different world in what we are used to as we look ahead. I put together a very brief slide deck. So, I'll walk you through a few slides, but I really look forward to hearing the speakers and the panel after me to get their perspectives on what lies ahead. So as Kritika defined, I think the theme of our Retail Tech Day over the 2 days is how do you transform through innovation? And, as we look ahead, can we get the next slide, please? And as we look ahead, I think this is a quote that's been oft quoted, but it's something that has never been more real, that there are decades where nothing happens and there are weeks where decades happen. So in NASSCOM, when we were thinking about the start of 2020, we said this should be about a decade, a technology-driven decade, where we thought some of the changes that are lying in front of us would happen over the next 10 years. But clearly, COVID-19 has accelerated these shifts and made digitalization, hyper-digitalization, omni-channel, contactless management, everything that Kritika spoke about much more real. And I think in the next slide, I'd really like to share with you what are some of these big changes that we are seeing ahead. So I think what we are seeing is that, there were a lot of mega trends that have been talked about, which was about what is a data-led economy, what is the future of work, focus on environment, how do you think about economic eminence? But I think whilst many of these remain equally important, there are many new mega trends that have come ahead, which are both positive, some of which are creating opportunities. There are a few that are creating challenges. I think particularly the whole emphasis on rise of geopolitics. What does it mean in the whole US, China, India, each country, EU, Brexit? I think there is so much change happening geopolitically. Every country is saying, I need to focus more on being self-reliant. I need to think much more in terms of bilateral relationships and multilateral formats that existed earlier. So it is a world which has changed in ways that we had known pre-COVID times. I think the government is becoming an important driver of technology spend. So, Gartner recently did a survey, and one of the things that decreased the most in technology spending was government spending. Healthcare is a no-brainer. Hopefully, all the changes that are taking place about investment in healthcare will be accelerated even more despite the vaccine coming or whatever time frame it happens. Rise of as a service economy, I think that is becoming very, very important, as is the whole focus on the whole new tech competition, big tech competition, new players coming in. That's again something that is redefining the landscape for technology. And I think the last one, which we live in, every day, is the whole stay-at-home economy. As we've learned to live in this work-from-home model, there are a number of technology solutions that are at play, and many of these will really define what the new future of work would be like. Can we move to the next slide that shows you how Gartner is defining some of the new technology, what are some of the technology spending trends that are looking at? So this slide is slightly difficult to read, but at a high level, it says that in December of 2019, the quarter 4 of 2019, tech spending was increasing by 4.6%. And as of June 2020, it is declined by minus 6.3%. So obviously a 10% or 10.5%, 10.9% plus decline over the 6 months as we've seen it. Every sector is declining, and I think with the emphasis on this current retail emphasis, there is a 15% decline in technology spending that Gartner has seen over this time frame. However, everything is not negative. If you move to the next slide, you would see that while there is a cut in spending that is taking place, most of the cut in spending is limited or is more focused on cut on devices, on discretionary spending, which people had planned ahead of time. However, the more progressive companies, the companies that are seeing this crisis as an opportunity, are continuing to invest in new technology areas. Many of the technology areas listed in the blue box, I'm not sure how readable it is, are technologies that existed earlier, whether it's cloud or cybersecurity or AI or analytics, IoT. What COVID-19 has done is accelerated the adoption of these technologies. If you see all analyst reports, they're talking about how cloud has become much more mainstream than it ever was. SaaS products, whether they're global products or products from India, they're seeing a huge adoption. And I think that is what is the whole drive towards as a service economy, new business models that we are seeing and would have some play in the retail world also. Can we move to the next slide? I think if you look at retail, and I think this was more in the context of what's happening in India retail. India retail was largely about, here is the offline traditional India retail or the big malls, and here is the whole online new commerce, e-commerce industry. And the two some of them would talk to each other, but most of them were really not, you would not see them as a combined whole. If you go and see the results of some of the retail companies that are listed, whether it's a DMart India, whether it's a Havells India, whether it's a Bata India, everyone is talking about how they want to invest more and more to increase their online share. On the e-commerce side, and Hari's here with us today, we have Flipkart that is buying out Walmart's wholesale business in India. So clearly, the integration of the omni-channel world is equally and more evident in India, where traditionally the e-commerce industry was these big boys who were wanting to eat up the small retailers. And clearly, I think the investment we've seen in geo platforms is one way that is looking at how integrating the entire retail ecosystem, from the small kirana stores to the big malls or the shopper stops, the supply chains, and all of that going forward. Can we move to the next slide, please? This is really, while I talked of a number of technologies, NASSCOM recently released a report about what is an AI playbook for retail, and I've just taken a couple of slides from that report. This was a survey that was done with retail CXOs on what do you see about AI adoption in your enterprise, what are the positives, what are the negatives. Clearly, I think 50% of those enterprises believe customer experience, operational efficiency, and revenue growth are priority areas when they adopt AI. However, I think a significant number of them still feel that value articulation, low ecosystem maturity, issues of data security, algorithm auditability, still not satisfied with implementations. Yes, we've done well, but the promise of AI is still not so real. So I think there are the so-called red flags that you continue to see where AI adoption is happening. But I think what we are now increasingly seeing is that people are willing to move beyond POCs. For a time frame, it was all about, let me implement a POC, let me see what happens around it. Today, you're seeing more and more enterprises on saying, if I need to accelerate my hyper-digitalization journey, AI and data analytics adoption is going to be a very significant part of that journey. And of course, reskilling talent, that is something that every company is very, very focused on, because clearly the jobs that will exist in the post-COVID world would be very different from what they existed in the pre-COVID world. Can we move to the next slide? There's just a quick slide of, what is the retail value chain as defined in that AI playbook, and we'll be happy to share that with the participants of this event. But clearly across the entire value chain, whether it's procurement, whether it's supply chain, whether it's online or offline or in-store experiences, whether it's about customer access, AI has a role to play, and there are very interesting live use cases this playbook has tracked across each of the segments of this value chain. Can we move to the last slide, please? So this is really my last slide, which is talking about, so if you are in the tech industry or you're a startup that is looking to partner with retail tech enterprises, what are some of the imperatives for you? I think the first is to stay close to your clients. There's so much change happening around us. You need to be very close to your clients to understand what are their priorities, what are they looking for, as opposed to a traditional RFP model. I think that world has changed. So you have to stay close to your client. You need to know what they are doing, be a partner in making them happen. You need to survive the short term. So focus on your revenues. Don't do free POCs unless you see a very, very big business potential. Build out your BCP strategy, because global and Indian large enterprises will be very focused on saying, I want to partner with somebody who can survive this current environment. If you can afford it, focus on acquisitions. They will give you the niche edge that you will need to build out capabilities that an organic play may take longer. Invest in platforms, products, new tech, because technology shifts are moving very, very fast. And the sooner you build those competencies, the better it would be. Put your skin in the game, co-invest, look at new business models. It's not only about pay-per-use model or anything, but can I co-invest and create new solutions with you? And of course, get ready for the normal. There is a very new normal out there that's already real, and that will stay along with us. So that's really a very brief presentation to set the context for the retail day that I wanted to share with all of you. We are living in times of unprecedented changes. Nobody knows what is today or what will tomorrow be. But I think in all of this unprecedented changes or this uncertainty, volatility around us, it's equally important to say, how do you stay sane? How do you identify what are some medium to long-term plays while surviving the current? So Kritika, back to you. Happy to be here today. And I look forward to hearing Rachel's session and hearing her perspectives. And thank you, Rachel, for getting up so early in the morning to join us here today.
Thank you, Sangeeta. And I think that set the perfect note for the opening and, for the follow-up sessions. And thank you so much. I think that was extremely informative and very, very good start to our two-day session. With that, I like to invite Rachel Whitcomb, Vice President, Technology at Target in India. Rachel is the Vice President, Technology at Target. She leads the global engineering team, which is responsible for building and operating technology products that enable some of Target's most foundational capabilities, ranging from item price and location to promotions enablement to compliance and intelligent automation. In her 15-year tenure at Target, Rachel has played a variety of engineering leadership roles, supporting nearly every area of Target's business. Rachel will speak with us on reimagining retail, how technology is enabling retail now and in the future. With that, Rachel, I welcome you, and the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Kritika, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for having me here today. Let's take a look at the content I brought, and I just want to start with a great big welcome to the new normal. Life as we know it has changed, and retail as we know it is at an inflection point. Consumer shopping behaviors are changing every day, and this trend is going to continue through the ups and downs of this pandemic, but also well beyond. And you can imagine the stress this puts on a business like ours. Let's take a look at the next slide so I can tell you a little more about that. Target is a Fortune 500 retailer with a presence in over 1,800 stores in the US and also on Target.com. Beginning in about February, we started to see dramatically different and shifting patterns. We suddenly had an enormous surge of online shoppers, and there was extremely high demand for certain types of products, essentials and groceries, and an almost total drop off in other product categories like style businesses. The regulatory environment was complicated. Rules were changing daily and were established at every level of government. Guest expectations and concerns shifted quickly also. The elements of delivering a shopping experience that both met regulations, was safe for our guests and team members, and upheld our brand were different every day, and sometimes store by store. And as a few weeks went by and consumers were spending time at home, there was another equally fast and dramatic change. Guests began stocking up on home goods, home improvement products, toys, games, and art supplies for their kids at home. Contactless fulfillment became heavily preferred. Families were celebrating holidays like Easter and Mother's Day and birthdays and graduations differently. Social opportunity moved all outdoors, creating a surge in demand for yard equipment, bicycles, and other outdoor toys. And on and on. Even now, as we begin to see plans for school unfolding, there are more new patterns ahead. And this wasn't something anyone saw coming. Even with robust business continuity plans, we didn't have anything that helped us predict this. But what we did have was some pretty fundamental tools in our toolbox. A durable strategy anchored in a strong and value-driven purpose, smart, flexible, and empowered teams, and a culture that supports taking the right risks and learning as we go. And these things, they all came together. They allowed us to respond quickly and with nimbleness and to deliver excellent results. And to put things in perspective, if you look at the next slide, there are just a couple of examples of how our business scaled in the first quarter. Our digital sales were up 141%. Same-day services, which includes a variety of ways for our guests to shop, like picking their orders up in store or driving up, or even using our home delivery service through Shipt, those went up 278% in the first quarter. So on the next slide, how did we deliver this kind of scale in this really unique time? And what was so special about our strategy, our team, and our culture? Let's start with our durable strategy on the next slide. 3 years ago, we laid out a strategy that was anchored on our value-driven purpose, and that is to help families discover joy of everyday life. And at Target, we live this purpose every day. We did this by enabling guests to shop where and how they wanted, and by building a broad suite of fulfillment options that I mentioned earlier, including shipping to your home, picking up in store, driving up, or same-day delivery. And before the pandemic, these services created joy for our guests through convenience and simplicity. And now, during the pandemic, we recognize that joy for our guests was now fulfilled through these services by creating a sense of safety and relief that guests could get what they need with low contact. And so we doubled down. We expanded all of our same-day fulfillment options to include grocery and fresh food, an initiative that previously had a multi-year timeline, but was executed across the chain in about 3 months. Having the right strategy and a purpose that people can believe in is a critical start. And then you need the people to deliver on that strategic promise. Having smart, flexible, and empowered teams is the second key success factor I want to highlight on the next slide. Well before the pandemic, Target has consistently been committed to investing in our team and building the best team in retail. And that means we hire talented and diverse team of top talent, ensuring we can create an opportunity for every single team member to fully leverage their strengths, and then intentionally fostering collaboration and speed. From a technology lens, this means that we hire a team that represents the communities we work in, aiming and achieving higher representation of women and other underrepresented populations than the market's qualified applicant pool. And since the pandemic began and the working experience changed so dramatically, we've gotten to see even more clearly the value of this diverse workforce. The skills that we needed to support our teams working remotely and to maintain engagement and collaboration and to sustain reliability and resilience in an incredibly stressful time, and to be incredibly diligent and focused on consistency so we didn't disrupt our stores when they were in a high stress time. To do all of those things, you need different skills and different strengths to do them well, but you need them all at the same time. If there is one thing that I am just most proud of during the start of this year, the thing that I know drove all of the results that I talked about earlier, it's our team. It's who they are as individuals and how they work together as a team. And it's one of the most spectacular things I've witnessed in my career. And it wasn't created by chance. By hiring the right team, and beyond hiring the right team, it also means focusing on infrastructure and architecture so that we can build world-class platforms and operate them at scale and layer on applications with a strong adherence to this clean and simple architecture. Those fundamentals seem simple, but the reality is they require an intense discipline and clarity and focus. And they are what enables us to build and scale technology fast. A great example of this is when government regulations started to require that we meter the number of guests that we had in stores. This was a new capability, something we'd never done before. And in a matter of days, our teams were able to leverage technology components that we already had: cameras in store, vision computing platforms, in-store mobile applications, and other foundational platforms and services, and quickly integrate them and extend them to devise a flexible solution that met the differing requirements across the chain. And this happened in a matter of days. There are actually many examples of this. In the last 6 months, we've seen more business features go from never thought of before to needed right now to delivered than I have ever seen before. From item purchasing restrictions to protect our limited stock, or reducing contact by eliminating pin entry when it wasn't needed, or changing our clearance logic to reduce the amount of times we had to change price tags for stressed stores. Many, many more things. The pace of inception to chain-wide rollout has gone from months to weeks to days in many cases. And all of this was on top of scaling our systems to meet as much as 300% growth for some days and some activities with zero significant performance or service interruptions. And with equal or greater speed, the same team has responded to meet the needs of our own teammates in order to enable us to remain productive no matter the circumstance. By rolling out new collaboration tools worldwide in less than a week and equipping team members around the globe with equipment to shift to completely working from home in a matter of days. It's truly been nothing short of incredible. And while our team is skilled and we've done our job in creating strong foundational architecture and platforms, what really makes this happen is empowerment. Because our purpose is so clear and so fulfilling for each one of our team members, in times like these, we can rely on our team members to react quickly and independently and to ruthlessly prioritize and focus on all of the right things. This means we, the leaders, we don't need to get in their way. We just simply clear a path for them to do incredible work. When every team member is clear in their mission to make Target the easiest, most convenient, and safest place to shop, then even when the earth moves, the North Star stays the same. So with a clear purpose and a strong team, on the next slide, you'll see the third element of success that I want to highlight. And this is Target's intentional culture of learning and innovation. One of the things I love most about our purpose is that it is resonant and fulfilling to every single team member at Target, and that it also applies to and for our team members at Target. We want our team members to discover joy in everyday life too. And we do this by supporting a cultural cornerstone of learning and innovation. In fact, innovation and learning are at the heart of everything that we do. Even in the face of a pandemic with team members distributed around the globe and working from home, we continue to create learning and innovation moments for our team. Just last week, we held our second virtual demo day during the pandemic, where technology teams around the world showcase the work of their teams for other engineers and for the company's C-suite. This event offers every engineer a chance to learn from other engineers across the company. And the excellent work of the team, and as importantly, the enthusiasm of our executive leaders creates a smooth runway for us to accelerate this work into production and rollout. Back in July, we took our long history of successful hackathons and we made it global. With over 100 self-organized helping them, over 70 solutions were advanced to a live demonstration in just about 48 hours. The 7 winning teams and several others have ideas that we will carry forward into our existing technology products or create new investments. Some of these ideas are so clever and well matched for Target and for this time that they'll be in store in operation yet this year. This year, we've also made our Team Member Incubator program global. This is a program that gives opportunities for team members to be intrapreneurs and develop their ideas at scale. Team members are nominated to devote 8 to 12 weeks to experiment with new ideas and solutions and work with them as part of a cross-functional team within a supportive environment. We're launching our second edition of the Team Member Incubator next week, and some of the candidates for incubation came out of our recent global hack. At Target, we believe in the value of learning and innovation so much that we take it well beyond our walls. We have a large intern and outreach programs in all of our technology locations that extend down into college, secondary, and even primary students, where we're building the talent for tomorrow. And by working with startups and emerging technology teams through the Target Accelerator program, we share our resources and knowledge to give others a leg up in shaping the future of retail technology. And finally, even as we see a burst of new work and productivity pressure, as we all transition to new ways of working, we remain committed to supporting every one of our technology team members in 50 days of learning. Whether that's training, self-driven development, on-the-job experiences, or something else, we know that when our team is learning, our team is on top of their game and will stay that way through this pandemic and into the next challenge. Our India teams have been a huge part of bringing our strategy and all the success factors that I've highlighted to life. Our team in India works with our Minneapolis colleagues on some of Target's most important strategies. Everything from store remodels to pricing strategy and execution, enabling our digital business, computer-generated imagery, AI, and much more. Our team in India leads some of our efforts around AI, machine learning, in-house engineering, and data science strategies. And our India team also builds the technology infrastructure that enables new ways for our guests to shop. Bangalore's influence on Target's business isn't just limited to technology either. Our team includes marketers, architects, designers, writers, videographers, and experts in supply chain, HR, finance, and many other areas. Nearly every aspect of Target's business is represented here. And a strong connection to HQ in Minneapolis means that ideas and results flow seamlessly. All of this means that our India operation is not a separate entity from Target. We are not Target India, but rather we're a natural extension without artificial barriers or boundaries. And it's why we're proud to call ourselves Target in India. In conclusion, on the next and final slide, retail in the US has been tough this year. Many retailers are struggling and not all of them will make it. beyond this pandemic. Crises are known to bring out the best and the worst in people and in organizations. And in Target's case, I truly believe the best of what we are made of and what has made us successful historically is also what's created success and kept us in the winners column during this unprecedented time. We have an intentional and unwavering focus on our value-driven purpose. We empower extremely talented and diverse teams to realize that purpose every day. And we support them by creating a culture of learning and innovation. And we're not out of this pandemic yet, and the road ahead will no doubt hold some additional surprises. But at Target, we feel ready to face them. Thank you, and back to you, Kritika.
Thank you, Rachel. We do have a couple of questions, and one of the things that the audience is asking us is, given this whole pandemic time, and what was that, if you have to pinpoint towards one tech innovation that changed business and business outlook for you, what would that one thing be?
Well, as I mentioned, I think there were some pretty foundational things that we did that enabled us to innovate in a lot of different ways and very rapidly for our guests. But I think some of the things that have been most meaningful for our guests and for our team members is the way that we've been able to quickly respond, to leverage the technology we have and extend or shape it to really emphasize safety for our guests. Whether that is reducing the amount of contacts on the guest payment devices or self-checkout, or enabling team members and guests to create service through their own personal mobile devices. I really think Target has always aimed to be the most convenient and easiest place to shop. And now we are the most convenient, easiest, and safest place to shop.
Yeah, that's very interesting to learn, and thank you so much for sharing. And is there any last comments that you would like to share with the audience with us today?
Well, I think that one of the things that we've seen, that as I've mentioned, that we've seen is that it's important to know what you're good at and to be good at that in normal times and in times of crises. When it really think about the things that I've talked about today, having a solid strategy, a clear and easily connected purpose, having the right team that you then empower to be their best, creating a culture that matches your values and supporting that actively for your team members, those are fundamentals. And I think if you're really focusing on those fundamentals leading up to crises, you'll be in a better position to be able to take on whatever is thrown at you as a business and as an individual.
Sure. Thank you, Rachel. I think that was wonderful. And thank you so much. I know it's a completely different time zone. Thank you so much for joining us. And it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us. Thank you again. With that, I will now like to introduce the moderator for the next session, Snehanshu Mitra, Head for a Center of Excellence, Data Science and Artificial Intelligence at NASSCOM. Snehanshu will moderate the session and introduce the panelists for the next session, which is Retail in COVID Times, the Path Forward. Just to briefly introduce Snehanshu, Snehanshu is responsible for creating, nurturing, and scaling up a vibrant AI ecosystem for India that involves incubating AI startups, leveraging AI to develop solutions for societal good, work with enterprises to co-innovate, and promote academic research and AI skilling. He has about 2 decades of demonstrated experience in driving business transformation and delivering business impact through data science and AI. Snehanshu, very, very happy to have you with us, and thanks for all the unconditional support that you provide all different aspects of the NASSCOM team. With that, the session is over to you, and look forward to the session.
Thank you so much, Kritika. Thank you so much. Good evening, good morning, depending upon where in the world you're dialing from. I am Snehanshu, your host and moderator for this session, and I welcome you all. The topic for today is retail in COVID times, the path forward. This is something that Kritika mentioned. And it's a good reason to really ask ourselves why we are talking about this right now. Well, for one, COVID has hit us belligerently like a force from the dark. It has impacted livelihood. It has impacted most of the industries. And I think there's a gradual acceptance that the road to recovery is going to be a long one, right? Businesses are seeking relevance, and this will accentuate certain kinds of trends. It will create newer ones also. And then you have this whole thing about retail. Rachel has been speaking about it very nicely. Retail was one of the earliest adopters of emerging technologies, and it would be interesting to see what happens post-COVID. Will the investments continue? Will they be repurposed? Will they take a back seat? What happens really? Now, the good thing is that my guests this evening are veterans from the retail industry. They are leading their recovery efforts for the respective organizations and divisions, and we'll try and seek some answers from them around how they are really reacting to the current situation, what kind of which fundamentals of the retail sector will change and probably change forever. What kind of strategies and predictions do they have for the after COVID era that I was alluding to? It's my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce Mr. Hari Vasudev, Country Head and Senior Vice President of Walmart Labs India, and Mr. Manish Mittal, Chief Omnichannel and Digital Shopper Stop. Gentlemen, welcome to this forum. I would request both of you to unmute.
It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you, Snehanshu. Pleasure to be here. And good evening to everyone.
So Hari and Manish, plenty to talk about this evening. And then just to make most of your time on this session, let me get started and pose my first question. Hari, this one is to you. A very direct question, probably one that also needs to be asked. What will the post-COVID retail industry look like?
Yeah, so I think, clearly, as has been said many, many times over, COVID is in many ways a life-changing event, right? It's very hard to imagine things going back to being exactly the way they were. People are already talking about the new normal for everything, from the way we work to the way we live our lives. And I'm sure, it's also going to impact the way we shop. I think more and more what we're going to see is that people are going to be focusing a lot more on omni-channel shopping. The journey that was already started prior to COVID is just going to accelerate a lot more. And people are going to adjust to this new normal where they can get the things they want, where they want it, when they want it, whether it's delivered to their homes, whether they go to the nearest store to pick it up, or using any other mechanism possible. If you look at e-commerce itself, right, in the decade from 2009 to 2019, the penetration of e-commerce in the US market was about 5.5% in 2009 and ended at about 16% at the end of 2019. And in the first 8 to 10 weeks of COVID, it went from 16% to 27%. And likely, it's going to end the whole year at maybe 20, 21%, but clearly a big, big jump, right? And that penetration and the behavior of consumers is only going to change. I don't think we're going to go back the old ways of living our lives, whether that's the way we work, the way we educate our kids, the way we travel, or indeed the way we shop.
And we'll try and explore the newer ways of working in more detail in the following sections. But let me just quickly cut across to Manish to really get some foundational thoughts on this. Manish, over.
So much same as what Hari said, right? The world is changing very fast.
Looks like,
Manish, might be a slight disruption in the internet, probably. We'll probably wait for Manish to sort of come back, but...
Sorry, I had...
Okay, lovely. Manish, can you hear me? All right.
I can, Snehanshu. Thank you. Sorry, I had some network problems.
Okay, please continue.
What I was saying essentially was that the world essentially has changed very immensely in a very short period of time. A drastic shift like this happens not so frequently, thank heavens. for that at least. But it's gone in a direction that was heading for quite some time any which ways. Like Hari said, a lot of fundamental things that customers were getting used to, the world was getting used to,
Looks like Manish is
Manish,
having some network problems.
some network issues probably.
Yeah.
Manish, we'll see if we can get you back in the next section. I'll just till such time that Manish comes back online with us. I'll go back to you, Hari. Right, among the sectors that have really taken the maximum amount of hit, one of the sectors globally is the supply chain. Right, questions are being asked if retailers would need to reevaluate the dependence on supply chain. A new strategy of supply will need to be probably put in place that adheres to the new norms. The question really is how to restore the supply chains that have been disrupted so badly in the COVID crisis.
Yeah, I think more and more what you're going to see is that companies are going to rely a lot on technology in order to really effectively utilize their supply chains, right? Because in a post-COVID world, you're going to see technology take a much larger role. And then, of course, they're going to look for a lot more flexibility. For example, in Walmart's case, there was a time where we ran our online and offline business very differently, right? I mean, we had a separate sort of set of fulfillment centers for our online business, and we had, distribution centers for our stores. And more, we are bringing those together and having essentially serving both our businesses through a single supply chain. And we're also bringing our stores into that network itself. During the COVID era, we already had a feature called ship from store, where when you order something online, we could ship it to you from the closest store, so that since if the item was already in the store, you would get it that much faster, and it would be a whole lot cheaper for us to ship it to your home from the store. Or you could just go to the store and pick it up. When COVID hit, we actually expanded that offering, and we now ship from store from more than 3,000 stores in the US, right? And that's a fundamental change essentially that we had to make very quickly in order to take the full power of our network and make it be available for our customers during the time of need. So you're going to see more and more such innovation that will happen, that will really sort of blend the supply chains across online and offline very, very smoothly in a very frictionless way. And you're going to see people starting to take advantage of technology like they've never before in order to ensure that the supply chains don't get as disrupted when another event of the kind that COVID strikes again.
Thank you so much. Manish, I'll just go back to you and just want to do a quick tech check if you're able to hear me all right. And maybe you can turn off your video if that helps you restore some of the bandwidth.
Thank you.
Lovely. So on the same question, what kind of newer developments you're seeing and in trying to sort of restore or lend more resilience to, the whole supply chain issue? If you could educate our audience a bit on the trends that you're seeing.
Sure. So one of the major things that we saw, for example, at Shoppers Stop, we had enabled ship from store also, like Hari said, for our customers. As much as 70 to 90% of our online sales was actually getting shipped from stores. And what we needed to do during COVID-19 times was actually change that reliance a little bit back to warehouses. Yeah. Because what was happening was, with the government regulations being what they are, there were times when we were not able to get this necessary stores open to ship the products to the customer when the customers placed the order. This constant changing of where a customer is, where the product is available, and how to create a marriage between the two to ensure that the customer gets the product delivered the fastest. I think the whole algorithm changes that we've done in the back end, the operational changes that we've introduced in the back end to ensure that we're able to tide over this period was one of the key learnings that we got out of the COVID-19 period from a supply chain perspective.
Sure. And I'll stay with you, Manish, and want to get deep into an area which we all feel is very important, which is the issue of customers, right? And plenty has changed from a customer point of view. The part that I really wanted to sort of understand is how are you seeing, from a customer's point of view, the change in their expectations, their needs, and their behaviors, their priorities in this new environment. That's the first part of what I wanted you to really comment upon. And the second one, you're a part of Shoppers Stop. I wanted to sort of get a little deeper into this whole, store aspect, and in trying to understand your views on what is the real impact on store channel, its role, uh, and the corresponding operations. How do you keep your customers and associates safe while playing a new role for customers, right? So very, very customer focused discussion. I thought it would be apt to pose this question to you, Manish.
Sure. At its very heart,
Manish, we are losing you again for a bit.
am I audible now?
You are.
Okay. I was saying at the fundamental heart of retail, finally, retail is a very simple business. It is the art of marrying the customer's expectation to what you're delivering in terms of the product that you're bringing to the table. What has changed now is some things the customer has not changed their fundamental expectations in some areas. It's more of how they're expecting that has changed. So if I look at what has not changed at a fundamental level, customers are still looking for convenience. They're still looking for choice so that they get the right product that they want that is suitable for them. But what's got added to this, like you very correctly said, Snehanshu, customers are a lot more conscious now about safety and hygiene. These have become front and center of the thought process in the customer's choice of where they're going to do their shopping from. This has come out quite evidently in the research that we've done with our consumers. It's coming out continuously in the form of behavior we are seeing with consumers in our stores. Visits to stores have become a lot more purpose driven, which means that the location of one basic of Indian mentality as far as shopping was concerned, the location of window shopping itself has changed. Window shopping now no longer happens outside the store or in the window of the store, it's happening more digitally. And that is what is allowing the visits to the store to become a lot more purpose driven.
Yeah.
We therefore have fewer footfalls, but much higher conversions because the customer is coming in very clear about what she wants and ensuring that that is what they go out with. And where are the customers going? Customers are going back to the brands that they trust. Experimentation is taking a little bit of a backseat today because they do not want to take any chances in the uncertain environment that the world has today. And very particularly for India, not a surprising effect, of course, vocal for local is getting quite loud.
True.
There's an emerging consciousness, if not yet a full preference in terms of buying behavior, but at least there is an ask for where the products originate from. And the ask for Indian origin products is starting to increase. At a macroeconomic level, and I need to just take this step back a little bit because it becomes relevant to all consumer behavior also. The fact is that the impact on demand will continue. And with unemployment at never before levels, one would expect essentials and smaller pack sizes ruling the roost like they've never before in retail. Some immediate behavior changes that we see in consumers, therefore, and how it impacts the store. We see a preference for shopping from home, not necessarily in a pure online manner, as we know a large part of the Indian audience has already moved to, but wanting to create a balance between the benefit of browsing through a physical store while at the same time being able to make the purchase without having to step into a store. And the trade-off between these has been the takeoff of the video chat-based solutions that a whole host of retailers have already introduced. An extension of the personal shopper service that Shoppers Stop introduced a long time before COVID itself, where customers are able to engage with personal shoppers in the store and now visualize products that they want to buy, find the right products for them, place the order through WhatsApp, and get the product delivered to them at the convenience of their home. Similarly, the avoidance of trying out products in stores, right? The customers who do walk into stores, there is an aversion to actually trying on products in many cases, although retailers like Shoppers Stop are taking all precautions of ensuring, for example, that every single product that is tried on is actually goes through a sanitization process before it is put back on the floor. But that does not take away from the customer's desire to avoid that particular action. And therefore, there is an increasing need and an increasing growth of virtual reality, mixed reality products that retailers are starting to use, both online and in store, which are allowing for a very different kind of a try-on experience, for example, than traditionally expected. So a whole host of these things that are starting to come in now, in the form of appointments being taken by customers before walking in to ensure that there is no non-overcrowding at stores. Something that Rachel mentioned for Walmart, for Target as well. Similar kind of concepts in India also exist. Shoppers Stop is allowing such appointments for customers, ensuring that there is the right amount of both ratio of customers and employees per square foot in the store to ensure social distancing is maintained.
Yeah.
All of these are trends that we're seeing now coming in because of the new normal.
Lovely. That was fairly comprehensive, Manish. And I'd probably take a part of the same question to Hari. Hari, the question again to you is that, are you seeing the customers' expectations changing? Has the customer sort of evolved through the crisis?
Absolutely. I think, if you look at customers globally, right, whether in the US and India or anywhere else, they were always looking for convenience and trust, right? They wanted to essentially have the convenience in their shopping. They always went with brands and retailers that they trusted, right? And now, of course, safety has been added on top of that as a very, very critical need. And so some of the things that Manish talked about are essentially trends that we are seeing as well. So, for example, even when customers order things online, their desire for safety extends beyond just having it be delivered ordered online. I mean, their homes. They actually want something called contactless delivery. So we have actually gone ahead and changed the way our applications work, where customers, when they order something, can choose to have contactless delivery as an option, which then triggers, an instruction to the driver to just leave the item on the front door of the customer's home, take a picture, and then upload it to our backend systems, right? And then once we get the picture, that's when we trigger a message to the customer saying your order is outside your home. You can just open the door and pick it up. So the customer never has to get in touch with the driver, nor the driver has to be in contact with the customer. Ensure safety for both our customers and our associates. Another example, right, for essentials. See, just because COVID is happening and social distancing is being followed, or customers are not able to go out, doesn't mean that they don't want their essentials, right? They want their medicines, they want their essential supplies daily. And oftentimes what they can do now is to order it and then, just either call in an order or order online and then just drive to the store but never get out of their car. They can actually have the associate walk out, load up their trunks at the curbside or drop off the order, through the window itself and then just leave. So these are all just some examples of how we have rolled out changes that we think are going to be permanent, right? In the sense that customers, once used to that convenience, are not going to go back to the old way. Yeah, sure. There may be items like, big ticket items that they may want to come and touch and feel, but even there, more and more, we are going to start to see acceleration of technology trends like AR and VR. For example, we already had a concept where we used to allow customers to we were trying out services where customers could take pictures of their homes, and then that content could then be used to place furniture within their home setting while they were in the store, right? So you're going to see trends like that starting to accelerate, when more and more this whole notion of how you shop and how you maintain social distancing and how you allow shopping to happen without getting as much physical contact is something that I think is going to be very much a trend that's going to stay, simply because it's so convenient, right? I mean, it's so convenient to be able to do this. Why would you go back to the old way of doing it, which was a lot less convenient?
True, true. Thanks. I think there was a very meaningful sort of segue that we created in this discussion on customers. But I'll just go back to Manish. Manish, it is now largely being accepted that some difficult choices would need to be made. And then these changes could include changes to business model also. And so the question is, in your opinion, what are some of those internal and external changes that retailers need to effect to remain relevant and in the game? So we have already spoken about customers, but outside of customers, what else do you think would really change, would need to change?
Fundamentally, and I think what Rachel spoke in her presentation also had this underlying thread. Nimbleness and agility, fundamentally, are the key constituents that I think any business, retail or otherwise, will need to be able to drive its own success in the new future. More than ever before, retailers are already starting to look at their own resources with a fresh pair of eyes. These could be internal resources, these could be external resources. There is no holy cow anymore. I mean, if you look at what retailers are challenging themselves on, whether it's people, productivity, capital, investments, what kind of technologies to choose, what kind of technologies to move away from, the willingness to take up non-technical paths to deliver faster results. All of these are things that today are becoming real, as against in the past when somebody said I want perfection. Today it's not about perfection, it's about the speed at which you actually are able to deliver and move forward. It is also a time when retailers will have to, if they have not already, of course, start leveraging their data assets much better. Assortment planning will now be extremely critical. It always was, but today it takes up a new meaning because a lot of the data that retailers had in the past may not be relevant anymore. A lot of the data learning models or machine learning models that were created in the past will need to be tweaked for what is happening now in the market. And based on all of this, the assortment planning that actually gets done now going forward will be much tighter, will need to bring much greater controls on inventory, of course, with a much larger understanding of the consumer requirement for each local catchment. Because that is the only way a retailer is going to be able to be financially prudent or financially viable to carry the business forward. When I'm talking about that, or when I'm talking about the use of data, I can't move away from the customer either. So for a minute, looking at the customer from a retailer's inside out lens, customer relationship management assumes that much more significance.
Yeah.
We spoke in the last segment about the concept of personal shoppers as an example, but even personal shoppers is something that can work best when
Losing you, Manish. Just giving you a couple
sorry
of
about
seconds.
that. Am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So as I was saying, even a customer relationship engagement, one personal shopper talking to a customer, whether in the store or outside, today has to be much more armed, much more empowered with a lot more data about the customer for that engagement to be that much more meaningful. The customers coming in today, as we said earlier, with an intent to buy, the conversion rate is likely to be high. But what the end customer ends up buying, are we able to amplify the basket size of the customer? Are we able to ensure that the customer gets the best of what they were looking for? Depends purely upon the kind of data that we arm our associates with and how much of customer information we are able to place at the fingertips of our associates. Similarly, if I look at, pre-COVID, we used to have terms of like digital influence, digital infusion. Digital influence was where retailers were measuring how much of the customers walking into the store were influenced by their online presence to make the decision to come into the store. Digital infusion was the reverse. How much of digital technologies were we able to actually bring into our retail stores in order to better serve our customers while
Manish,
and
I think we
that
lost the audio just for a few seconds. If we can just rewind for the benefit of our audience.
okay. So I was talking about digital influence and digital infusion.
Yeah.
Digital infusion being when a customer is when a retailer helps a customer to get a better experience in the store using digital technologies. What's happening now is that thought process is shifting from concepts to actually becoming real. Retailers are now wanting to measure this much more and to implement this much more, because that's the way they will then be able to again make the best use, optimize they are putting to bear. Store staff, often earlier resistant to online, if you recollect the pre-COVID world, one often saw store staff often treating their own online presence to some extent as a competition. But with COVID coming in, with the kind of cultures that COVID has now brought in, that's actually shaping up to create a very different kind of a model within organizations, with online and offline merging much more seamlessly within the organization. Store staff are now empowered using online. They're given a lot more digital training. We've used at Shopper Stop, for example, the last 3-4 months to create a much more robust digitally enabled staff. We've done a whole host of process of digitization, which have helped us reduce and eliminate registers in the stores, and therefore make us more efficient as an organization, as a retailer. And endless aisle, a concept that we had pioneered even earlier. We had it for a year and a half before COVID, is now gaining that much more traction because when the customer is in the store staff is actually able to make the entire process rather than having to wait for a customer to only get what is available in that particular store.
Got it. Yeah. So I'll quickly cut across to Hari. Hari, in your opinion, what are some of the changes that you believe retailers would need to make to stay relevant in the business?
So I think, fundamentally, it's going to be an acceleration of what is already happening, right? I don't think customers wake up in the morning thinking I'm going to do online or offline shopping. Right? For them, shopping is shopping. It essentially is becoming truly omni-channel. It's a blended thing. The journey may begin online or offline and may end up in either offline or online again, right? And I think clearly customers are going to look for a much more integrated experience. And in order to be able to deliver that integrated experience, not only do you have to be nimble and fast, but ultimately you have to really technologically empower and enable your business, right? Whether that's your associates in the stores, whether that's your people in the distribution centers in the supply chain, or whether that's your merchandisers. Ultimately, right, data is going to be critical, absolutely. But harnessing that power of the data and again giving customers the experience, the best experience that we can possibly do, regardless of whether they're doing it online or offline. So for example, if they're shopping online, through search and personalization, you might be able to give them a great experience. If they're ordering groceries online and the order is actually being picked by your store staff, by your staff in the store, getting them ready for basically loading the consumer's trunks when they drive up to this, the associates in the store have to know if a particular item that was ordered by the customer is not available, what do they substitute that with? If they were to actually go and call the customer, that's essentially going to be too expensive. The customer may not be available. So they have to learn, right? And to learn, they have to be able to use the data that looks at not just past shopping behavior of that particular customer, but customers in a similar cohort, customers who bought similar items. So they have to really essentially start to leverage technology and to be able to make these decisions in real time without actually having to talk to the customers each time, right? So more and more you're going to start to see technology at scale being deployed very, very quickly, right? That's what companies have been doing in order to scale up very, very fast. And I think companies that are able to do that really effectively and efficiently, and to be able to operate with nimbleness and speed at the scale at which, like for example, Walmart is operating with 11,000 stores worldwide, yet in a matter of a week or less, we're able to roll out new innovation like ship from stores or curbside pickup and contactless delivery and so on. So this whole idea that, oh, you're too big and therefore you cannot be nimble is dead, right? I mean, the idea that no matter how big you are, even at Walmart scale, if we can be nimble enough to roll out features in a couple of days on the back of very strong technology foundations and a very deep understanding of customers, that's going to be what that will differentiate the retailers of the future.
At this time, I just want to reach out to the audience and suggest that if you have any questions for our panelists, feel free to type that in and we'll try and get as many of those answered as possible. But staying with you, Hari, and this is really the final section of what I wanted to discuss. The whole recovery plan that we are talking about, how do they execute the recovery plan? And then to what extent can retailers really look at technology to offer help?
So I think the technology innovation, right, in retail has been happening for a long time. As I was talking about it earlier, right, if you look at how we have really delivered on the omni-channel promise, it is by bringing in technology from the offline and online side together. One simple example, right, Manish talked about assortment planning. So there is a time when we used to do assortment planning in the stores, right? And today, of course, signals coming into assortment planning for the stores is no longer just from store traffic. It is also looking at online traffic. It's looking at competitive traffic for that particular store in that zip code. So you cannot do something assortment planning at a national level or even a regional level. It has to now be done at a store item level, right? Which means you're doing assortment planning on an individual store by store basis on an individual item by item basis, and you're looking at signals coming from all the different sources, online, offline, competitive, on a by demographic, by zip code, and so on, right? Which means that you have to really crunch through massive amounts of data. You have to build very deep, extremely effective machine learned algorithms so that you can accurately forecast demand in the store. And then you have to be able to deal with extraordinary events like what we're going through right now, right? And so how do you bring sort of all of this to bear together very quickly and to be able to deliver that with speed at scale? Technology has to be that way. That's the only way that you're going to be able to scale. So I think you're going to see a significant investment happening in technology continuously. And more, you're going to see that retailers and others will start to use technology in all the different parts of their business. As a simple example, right? Our store associates are all equipped with mobile devices now. And one of the things that we're doing is, in the past, you could afford to be building applications for the associates that are sort of jumbled together. There's maybe 20 or 30 applications installed on a device.
Yeah.
Well, when you have 1 million associates across the world, right, operating stores, 11,000 stores across the world, it's essentially as big as many companies have consumers, right? So for us, more and more the focus is now building consumer grade applications for our associates. So associates, when they're in a store, depending upon their own role and what they are privileged to do or not do, depending upon where in the store they are, we can actually put up the right task in front of them. So the way you actually maneuver your associates through their workday and through the store is completely done through technology now, right? And it's a mix of what's available in the store, what customers are looking for, what that associate is capable of doing, how much training they've had. And so you're constantly sort of learning from the systems, and you're essentially using this learning to make the systems better and better every day for our associates so that they can then serve the customers better. And that's just one example of how we bring technology to bear outside of something that's completely outside of the customer realm or supply chain, right? It has nothing to do with any of that. It is to do with how do you get a store associate to be as productive as they can be in the future and serve the customers better.
You should kind of argue just by some of these skills that we spoke about in today's conversation. You see a gradual graduation.
Yeah, so I think, I'm not sure if it's just me, but there seems to be some disturbance in your line. We couldn't hear you really well.
Yes, Snehanshu, not able to hear you.
Okay. Am I audible?
No, there's a lot of static.
Static.
I think Snehanshu's.
Is it a little better?
No.
No.
Let me meanwhile take a shot also at adding a couple of points maybe to what Hari said on how retailers are going to take this forward and what will they need to do to stay relevant. Hari, I think you covered a lot of ground on that, and I mean it'll be very difficult to add much more to it. But I think one fundamental thing for retailers that don't have the kind of pedigree, for example, that a Walmart Labs would, one of the things that I see a lot of my colleagues across the retail industry starting to relook at is their entire technology landscape, particularly from a perspective of simplifying it. One of the focuses I've seen them bring in as part of the simplification is the ability to make a lot more plug and play kind of concepts available and doable so that they can move faster. In the past, some of the things that we would have wanted to do as retailers would have taken a lot longer simply because integration between two partners, for example, would have a whole host of understanding of each other's platforms, technology teams talking to each other for ages before that can get done, and so on and so forth. But with microservices, with web services, with APIs, with RESTful, all of this coming in, headless commerce coming in, a lot more willingness from the retailers as well.
I think we lost Anish too now.
To modularize their systems. Okay, technology is not a friend today. Am I audible now?
Yeah, you are.
Fantastic. Okay. So I was saying, therefore, a lot more.
Sorry, please finish your point. Yeah.
Now, I was just saying, therefore, a lot more modularization of systems are happening, which is also allowing us, therefore, to be a lot more open to startups who can then come in, engender themselves along with us, get off the ground much faster, because we don't no longer have to rely on a very long lead time for getting small projects off the ground, and therefore a lot more ability for a good collaboration between established retailers and startups to work together and bring the best of both worlds faster to the consumer.
No, I agree. And I think, one thing I would like to add to that, right? It goes beyond technology. I mean, Walmart has always been an extremely strong proponent of the ecosystem play. So, for example, if you look at it, we have partnered very actively with our suppliers, with small companies and large companies. And really, as you said, Manish, technology is just a way of doing it, but it starts with a mindset, right? So, as an example, we had a platform called Retail Link, which allowed us to share aggregate data with our suppliers, which then allowed them to do much better planning of assortment. They know what categories sold within the category, what items sold, and therefore allowed them to plan their business better. And we made the technology available to them. And by doing that, we reduce their cost of operations. But then rather than keep that profit to ourselves, we essentially pass that back to the customers through a lower price on their items, right? So this is essentially the two concepts that Walmart has pioneered, called EDLC, or everyday low cost, and EDLP, or everyday low price. So by leveraging technology and by creating an ecosystem around ourselves, and by being very open in allowing others to plug and play as part of that ecosystem, you're driving costs down for everybody, and therefore you're then able to pass those price benefits on to our customers, right? And now we're starting to do that by integrating other companies into our ecosystem, by essentially making sure that we are actively working with startups in the ecosystem to be able to give them a canvas, if you will, that allows them to try their solutions in our stores, and then we are helping them develop the solutions and scale them, so that eventually they can take the solution across our entire network. So I think the ecosystem play on the top of technology is an extremely important one, Manish. That's something that
Absolutely.
it's a path to success for the future, for sure.
So, gentlemen, thanks a lot. First things first, I just want to do a tech check. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. It's much better now.
Okay, so thank you for co-hosting this session. I will have to share end credits with you. Okay, well, Hari, Manish, thanks a lot. But I think there are a couple of questions coming from the audience. I just want to pick up a few of them, if not all of them. The first question is being posted by Nikhil Sharma. So, Nikhil, a shout out to you. The question is, will brick and mortar model even survive, or does it die down during this pandemic? A short, crisp answer, and we'll start off with you, Hari.
Absolutely, yes. Right. If you look at what has happened since COVID, our online business grew about 75%. Right, in the last quarter when we reported results, year over year, our online business grew 75%. Comp store sales, or comparable store sales, grew 10%. Now, if you know retail, you know that that's a big number, especially at Walmart scale. Typically, comp store sales grow at about 1 or 2 or 3%. And for comp store sales to have grown 10%, just indicates that, again, like I said, this whole notion of that is going to be either online or brick and mortar, I think, is a very antiquated notion. It's all going to be omni-channel now. And the blend, or this distinction between what's retail and what's online, or what's offline retail versus what's online retail, is going to it's going to disappear very quickly. Right? We're already starting to see that happen.
Yeah.
And the only reason Walmart has been as successful as it has been during the COVID, when a lot of other retailers are struggling, is precisely because of the technology investments,
True.
the process changes that we have made to be able to really take advantage of the shift to omnichannel. So brick and mortar is here to stay. I don't think it's going anywhere. But more and more, it's going to be this very unique blend of online and offline that is really tailored around convenience, safety, trust, value for the customer. And the companies that are able to deliver on that are the ones that are going to be successful.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Manish, I will let you have the final say in this session with a question from the audience. Injara asked a question, which is, retail industry is one of the biggest job providers, and this pandemic is further encouraging automation. Do you expect retail companies to see a shift in their customer strategy? These are the two distinct questions, but at least the first one around job creation seems to be something that we haven't discussed so far. So if you can please answer this one.
Snehanshu, sorry, I missed the question. Can you repeat that for me, please?
So the question is, retail industry is one of the biggest job providers, and this pandemic is further encouraging automation. The whole question is, if there is automation, are we not going to see it create as many jobs in future?
Okay. So I think as with any revolution, right, the nature of jobs change.
Manish, the connection is a little choppy at your end, it seems.
Yes, it does seem that way. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes. The tech check is always fine.
Good. So we'll try and keep it like that. As I was saying, all revolutions typically have always resulted in nature of jobs changing. There has always at every revolution, whether it was the industrial revolution or any other one that you bring up, there were fears that jobs will get overtaken. Yes, a certain nature of jobs do get changed, but at the same time, new jobs get created. Similarly, with the current ongoing transformation, and I suspect when we look back at it with hindsight, we are going to call this period also as a revolution. We are seeing a change in the nature of jobs that are getting taken, that are coming up. If you look at the temporary jobs that the pure play marketplaces are creating today, whether it is from a delivery perspective, whether it is from a servicing perspective, there are a huge number of these jobs that are getting created. Look at the number of jobs technology is creating today. And technology is becoming like a second arm of retail today. Also, not to forget, as the role of retail changes, as the role of the retail store changes, the nature of the staff within the store will also undergo a change. And that change will also, again, still require people to engage with customers. It's just a different kind of people and a different kind of skill set required to engage with that customer.
Yeah. Lovely. So I know for a fact that there are at least 5 or 6 more questions, but I think we are out of time, and that's all the time that we had for this session. To the audience who couldn't get their questions answered, my request is please do mail it across to the session organizers, and we'll try and get them answered from our panelists. So that is all the time that we had for this session. I'd like to thank my guests, Hari and Manish, for taking time out and giving their inputs on a Monday. I'm hoping that there were a few takeaways that we could create for the audience, but do stay tuned for this Retail Tech Day. Lots of interesting sessions lined up for you. We'll follow this up with a showcase event for retail startups, but for now, we'll sign off. So thank you for tuning in. Stay safe, take care, and bye-bye. Over to you, Kritika.
Thank you, Snehanshu. Thank you, Hari, and thank you, Manish. That was wonderful. And thank you so much again. And I think the questions are just flowing in. I'm feeling terrible that we can't answer some of those questions, but I hope to address them in a follow-up session sometime soon for the benefit of the audience. So thank you so much. And with that now, we will move into the product showcase session. Here we will be showcasing about 8 startups, and these have been recommended, and we have selected them through different NASSCOM initiatives of the 10,000 startups, Deep Tech Club, COE, Data Science and AI. So please do, look up, hear the elevator pitches. And I would also request you to score them during the live polls and reach out to us if you need to connect with them at any point of time. So I'm really excited to hear the startup pitches, and I would look forward to all of you. Please do the live polling. That's really important for us, and do reach out to us when you want to connect further with the startups. With that, can I request the team to start the session, please?
Hi, my name is Lalit. I am the CEO and co-founder of Bizome. Bizome stands for Business on the Move. It's the retail intelligence platform focused on consumer brands who reach out to the consumers using mom and pop kirana shops as a channel. We have been named as the fastest growing tech company in India and in Asia using independent studies done by Deloitte as well as Financial Times. Somewhere around March this year, when the pandemic really hit us, the brands were struggling to keep their supply chains open among confusions around e-passes as well as overall fear of the virus. That's the time we felt as our responsibility to do something about it using our superior tech. We went around and equipped more than 100,000 retailers with an application called Distiman. Now, Distiman allows these shopkeepers to order what they want when they want it.
लॉकडाउन टाइम में कोई आता नहीं था तो हम इससे ऑनलाइन से हम ऑर्डर करते थे, कभी भी कर सकते थे, तो अपने टाइम पे पहुंच जाता था, तो हमको अच्छा लगा.
This allowed the brands to use their limited supply chains to actually go about and meet that unmet demand. We also help the brands to form distribution partnerships across different regions. We even provided them with intelligence in terms of which shops were open as well as which were containment zones across different towns to make sure that they can use their supply chains more effectively to help the consumers.
Again, technology, we call it Bizom, such has played a critical role. So we knew exactly which retailer, what they wanted, how they wanted. So we picked up the right guys. We knew that we are not going to, it'll be difficult for us to service 100%. So we said, okay, in each locality, can we pick up 5, 7, 10 stores and see if we can deliver them.
Now that the lockdowns are getting over, we realize that this contactless way of ordering, self-ordering by retailers, as well as our intelligent supply chains is becoming the new normal. With more than 50 brands, more than 100,000 retailers who have ordered more than 100 crore worth of goods in just last 3 months, we are really happy that we could do our bit in this war with COVID.
All we had to do was to ensure supplies in the market. So this actually helped us to sail through the crisis very this time. And really thanks to Bizom for that.
Hello, I am Dr. Chakshu Agarwal, co-founder of CrispTech Technologies Private Limited. We have built a product, CrispTech PIM, Product Information Manager, for Indian micro businesses. This product will be useful for manufacturers, retailers, as well as the consumer. Manufacturers will use CrispTech PIM to create and manage their catalogs across various sales channels. Retailers will reuse these catalogs to manage their inventory across various marketplaces and POS. The consumer will get the correct and detailed descriptions and specifications of the product before they make a purchase. We have India focused integrations like Zoho, Razorpay and Paytm. Currently, we are in pre-revenue stage and working on onboarding 3 manufacturers over next 2 weeks. Thank you. See you at NASSCOM's Retail Tech Day.
Indian retail has had a digital reboot because of COVID. E-commerce has changed forever. Local is now focal, but the technology is still lagging. According to a survey by EY India, 40% of Kirana stores said that they wanted to partner with online delivery and supply platforms. At the same time, FMCGs, large retailers and financial services companies recognize that Kirana store is the new local touchpoint and it's their conduit into the daily lives of trusting customers. But still, the adoption is low. Why? The current systems are just too complicated for the simple Kirana stores. Onboarding is just too long, inventory integration is very difficult, and finally, if that is not enough, the Kirana stores fear losing business to the platforms. Introducing Order Simply, a made in India, local selling e-commerce technology stack that focuses on local to local transactions. Shopkeeper's onboarding is in 2 minutes flat. The shopkeeper gets his own e-commerce website instantly. Our Android app manages their inventory with minimum fuss. He even gets his own delivery app to manage his deliveries better. The icing on the cake is that by updating inventory in a single app, the shopkeeper can manage inventory in multiple channels like Amazon, Flipkart, Shopify and others. We are his man Friday for everything e-commerce. In COVID-19 world, Order Simply can be used by housewives to sell locally on WhatsApp. It can be used by hotels to manage contactless menus. It can be used by restaurants to take orders locally and not pay hefty delivery charges. Airbnbs can use Order Simply to offer contactless delivery to their tenants. Farmers can use Order Simply for directly selling to condos. We are an AI-powered technology stack. We match local demand and local supply. Our AI matches customer preferences and their local addresses down to the apartment block with the seller's inventory. We have built this over past 3 years. Sellers can manage orders, promotions and channels from the same platform. We are a single-stop technology for any industry that wants thriving local online sales with local offline delivery management. We are COVID-19 ready. As our onboarding, order acceptance and delivery flow are all contactless. We will become the new standard technology backend for multiple companies. If you manufacture consumer goods, you are a sales network, a farmers cooperative, a condo or housing society, come join us. You do the sales, we do the technology heavy lifting.
Hello, I'm Kirti, the founder of GetBuy. You can think of GetBuy as OYO for retail stores without any committed revenue to retailer and zero capital investment on standardization from GetBuy. GetBuy is a full stack tech suite that drives sales growth for small and medium consumer businesses in a systematic, convenient, and cost effective manner with full control of inventory and customer data to the customer, to the retailer. So as I present this, we are at 500 plus stores, amazing fruitful partnerships with POS vendors and reseller partners, and a lot of distributors and 5,000 plus retailers in our network. We have been growing 500 plus year on year. In the past, local e-commerce has been tried and it was not very successful. Why? It's a very big question. So every retailer should be able to sell online without compromising on margins or customer data or personalized customer relationships that he has built over a period of time and with so much of effort. So the primary reasons of failure were that getting into a price war with e-commerce giants, number one. Number two, no technology was available for inventory sync across all the sales channels. Last, but very important, it is limited inventory. So using our full stack technology solution, we are solving all the three problems that were earlier the reason for local e-commerce not being very successful, and this time we are solving it using the best technology available at this point of time.
I am Rajul, one of the co-founder of Incref. Incref stands for Incredible Efficiency, and that's what we are bringing into whole retail ecosystem. We serve large brands and retailers in India and internationally. The industry loves us as we help them improve their revenues, their margins, and working capital rotations. Recently awarded as Cool Vendor by Gartner. We have two offerings, two tech platforms, and one service offering. Iris is our algorithm-driven merchandising platform, specifically designed for fashion. It has 4 modules. It helps brands take decisions like what to make, when to make, how much to make, convert them into automated orders based on constraints like MOQs and lead times and current inventory, and then in help distribute inventory to various stores or online channels, do replacement, replenishment, inter-store transfer, etc. It has a business intelligence module which showcase the MIS to right from store manager to a CEO level. Specifically designed for fashion, it caters to all the fashion nuances. It's built for scale and accuracy and gives extremely fast results. Built by merchandiser to take pre-season and in-season decisions, complete end-to-end merchandising platform. It's driven by 100 plus algorithm filed for patents in India and US, and these algorithms are customizable to suit clients' need. Our second platform, Assure, is today world's arguably the most simplest and most accurate warehouse management system, coupled with fastest order management system. It has the ability to expose 100% of inventory in warehouse to multiple sales channels simultaneously, thus dramatically improve revenue and reduce cost of operations within the warehouse. 2 to 3 times revenue increase has been seen using this platform. It's a multi-system integration platform, completely pay-per-use, achieve right first-time operation 100% time. It beats RFID, and now only robots can beat us in terms of inventory and fulfillment accuracy. It simultaneously helps reduce cost and design for scale. Our third offering is a service, a unique concept of cloud warehousing, where we provide distributed warehousing, physically distribute inventory intelligently and keep it closer to end consumer. Completely OPEX model, no capex required from client. We guarantee SLA and inventory accuracy. It's a very agile and flexible warehousing model. Start warehousing within 2 days, ramp up, ramp down anytime you want, cater to large peak demands of e-commerce, and simultaneously fulfill your offline orders as well. Thank you, NASSCOM, once again. Thanks the audience. Thanks a lot.
Ongil helps enterprises make data-driven decisions in situations with limited data. We help CPG companies make data-driven business decisions under uncertainty with our AI-driven SaaS platform. During periods of uncertainty, CPG companies face opportunity loss due to frequent supply disruptions, resulting in stockout situations. The companies have to adapt to rapidly changing customer behavior, with consumers moving from discretionary to necessary goods and increased spending online. When revenue takes a hit, the cost to revenue ratio goes up. At Ongil, we help CPG companies make business decisions along the supply chain, from suppliers to consumers. Ongil's context-aware AI platform solves the math behind so that CPG companies can focus on delighting their customers. With Ongil, maintain high supplier service levels by continuously monitoring exposure and uncertainty in supply delivery. Ramp up alternate suppliers if necessary. In essence, maintain a high OTIF. Manage your vendor managed replenishment refills precisely for every distributor under every condition, every time. Drive up customer satisfaction by ensuring availability of your every variant. Understand changing customer behaviors to devise new product strategies. We achieve this with data integration tools that use machine learning to automate the painful tasks of data cleansing and augmentation. The platform collates a wide range of external data sources, from competition procurement patterns to customer demography information. These data sources add depth to the data analysis and reveal hidden opportunities. The most important pillar is a probabilistic algorithm that is designed to work with limited data and provide probabilities for all possibilities. This makes accurate predictions of even extreme scenarios possible.
How do we use Ongil's technologies to help our customers? One of our clients is a Fortune 500 FMCG company selling across multiple e-commerce marketplaces in different countries. They sell thousands of SKUs. With Ongil's tools, we extracted and automatically cleansed the competition information pertaining to their sales, promotional strategies, and their market share. With this, we are in the process of making an effective and optimal pricing strategy for each of those SKUs to maximize profitability and revenue.
My name is Sachin and I'm founder of Sara. Sara is a supply chain automation company. We are funded by Techstars and part of Microsoft's Scale-Up program. Let's look at the supply chain problems. Most of the operations today are manual and error-prone, and that leads to what? Significant revenue losses. If you look at returns management, up to 55% of goods are returned in e-commerce. Inventory, almost $1 trillion worth of inventory is lost every year. Essentially, over 80% of operations are still manual in supply chains. We at Sara believe the solution of all this lies in automation. For instance, in return automation, you can bring computer vision-based quality control and assessment. For inventory, you can automate most of the processes. And all the scenes, all the operations behind inventory and supply chain, such as receipt, dispatch, sorting, invoicing, and shipping, can also be automated. Let's look at Sara's core product, which is essentially an image recognition engine, which can identify, count, grade SKUs and packages. It can help to automate shipping, sorting, returns, and operations. If you look at a broad overview, Sara essentially is an AI-powered supply chain core. It can help with returns automation, receipt automation, dispatch automation, inventory automation, aging automation, procurement automation, and transit automation. Most importantly, it can work with existing ERP, WMS, PMS, and SCM systems as well. So some of the solutions which we have work very well with companies such as e-commerce and CPG, where we can bring in things like quality assessment and returns, tracking, and aging. We also work with some heavy industries such as maritime and MRO in helping them with their spare part inventories. We also work with logistics company, helping them with shipping automation. Essential business benefits we offer is the reduction in error rates, which leads to a lot of inventory losses, reduce labor cost, and improve your cash flow so that you can use that money you have to improve your business in other places. Some of the case studies, for instance, we work with SFI, which is a logistics, cross-border logistics company. We help them with automated shipping. We work with Big Basket. We help them with the returns management. We also work with companies like Maersk, where we help them with their spare part management. Some of our customers include Big Basket, as I mentioned earlier, SFI, Maersk, Decathlon, Sharaf TG, and we work across the globe. If you are looking to solve any of your inventory problems, please do reach out to us at business@sara.io. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Arjun and I am the co-founder and CEO of Suke. Our vision at Suke is to create intelligent value in operations. Be it manufacturing or logistics or even retail, operations come with a lot of moving parts and a lot of challenges which, if not managed properly, leads to a lot of inefficiency like low productivity, poor compliance and safety risks. Suke's real-time location platform provides complete visibility over operations by giving contextual alerts, real-time dashboards, and analytics. This solution has a lot of relevance, especially in the retail industry. The Suke platform can be used to provide safe, efficient, and compliant operations in this industry. Assets like trolleys, material handling equipment, and even contract workers can be tracked across a facility. Once we know the location of all these assets at any given point in time, we are able to do a number of analytics like heat maps for locating the prime areas and so on. The platform can also be used to support wayfinding applications and an emergency trigger button that can be used either for an emergency or for communicating information from a remote location. We at Suke work with some of the leading companies in the world to be able to promote safety, productivity, and compliance in their operations. Suke's platform also offers a ready solution for social distancing, contact tracing, and risk profiling, not only of people but also of places. This has become an important tool to ensure business continuity in the post-COVID world. Thank you for your time and attention. We look forward to working with you. Do drop us a line at info@suke.com.
So thank you. And I think that was a wonderful, wonderful bunch of startups that we were able to view today. We have 8 more lined up tomorrow. And our session tomorrow is at 11 a.m. in the morning. And we look forward to all of you logging in. And we also hope that you will, encourage these startups and look and want to connect with them to see how to work closely with them. And we look forward to having all of you at the session back tomorrow. And I think this was a wonderful set of sessions that we were, and great learnings for all of us. So thank you for being such a wonderful audience. And not last but not the least, all the teams involved at the backstage, thank you very much. Thank you to our sponsor, Target, without which this wouldn't have been possible. And so look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow. Thank you very much. And do log in tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.